Morning, everybody. I am having an at-home morning today because I'm writing the course notes for a new professional training in the UK called Botanica, Herbal Medicine Training. And I'm very pleased that they've asked me to be their Materia Medica lecturer for this year for the second year students. I'm looking forward to meeting them. And I am writing up my notes and looking over the herbs that are on their course and thinking about them anew. It's always a nice thing to do. Materia Medica is just a fancy name. I think it's a lovely name for the herbs, the plants that have been included in our medicinal history. And so I was just thinking about what that means, really, because we have our indigenous herbs and I'm very keen to use as many of those as I can. But as the world has become more connected, we obviously borrow some from the Chinese tradition and from the Indian, the Ayurvedic tradition, and we have incorporated them into our clinics as Western medical herbalists. When I'm out doing herb walks and things, I might say to people, so this tree is a fantastic herb, and people say, well, the tree's not a herb. And I say, true. But actually, in terms of being a herbalist, we use trees a lot. We might use preparations of the flowers, the fruit, the leaves, the bark sometimes, or even the inner core. Of course, that comes with sustainability issues, so we have to really think about that and use those products, treat them as precious as they are, or find alternatives. But yes, trees are herbal medicines for us. And I might point out some things that people say, that's not a herb, that's a weed. And I always say, well, a weed is just the name for a plant that you don't want in your garden. So great weeds that we use would be maybe dandelion or gallium or other things like that, plantain. And most gardeners can't stand having dandelion in their gardens, much less something like horsetail, which is very invasive. But for us as herbalists, those are really, really important medicines for us. So just think about what it is that we incorporate in our Materia Medica and that we call herbs in shorthand, if you like. And today I'm writing up my notes on medicinal mushrooms. And really, it's a bit mind-blowing to read about their origins, the fact that mushrooms are not plants and they're not animals either. They're actually an entirely different kingdom all to themselves, and that the mushrooms we see popping up above ground are just really the fruiting bodies of a much, much greater organism called the mycelium that lives underneath, and these kind of spread out underneath the ground. Sometimes they can be miles and miles across, and they send up the mushrooms as the fruiting body so that they can propagate. They can send their spores out and they can colonize new areas. And just the thought that they're actually neither plant nor animal, I was thinking, gosh, we really do like to categorize things, don't we? It's a herb. That's not a herb, that's a tree. That's not a herb, that's a weed. And actually, the plants or the beings that we're working with, they really don't care what labels we put on them. They just are what they are, and most of them will contain properties that are extremely helpful to us if we can learn how to use them safely and properly, and if we can look after their habitat and make sure they're able to propagate. Then we have an incredible richness out there that we can learn about and tap into. So some latest research, we used to say that mushrooms were actually, they're quite like plants. And actually some of the latest research has shown that they're really not. They really are a cross. So the way that they fix carbon from the atmosphere is like animals, not like plants. So plants take it from the air and they photosynthesize it and they turn that into energy. But animals, I include us in that, animals and fungi, we shouldn't really call them mushrooms because the mushroom's just like the flower part of it. The fungi, they actually break it down from organic materials using enzymes, which is what we do. But then structurally, we know that the mushroom part is much more akin to plants. So they really are part plant, part animal. It's quite a fascinating thing to get your head around, and I just wanted to share that with you in case you found that interesting too. And I was just thinking I must try to stop trying to be so binary about things, you know, animal or plant. There are other ways, there are other things. We don't have to put everything in boxes. Anyway, that's my musing for this morning. I hope you're having a good day wherever you are. Speak soon.